The Boston Celtics are down 0-2 with their series against the Knicks. A shocking development here in what's been a crazy second round of the NBA playoffs, but there's more on the line for the Celtics than just the series. In fact, this team, this incarnation of the Celtics could be blown up this summer. We're talking trades happening this summer because of the Celtics' failures here in round two. I'm going to get into why and what that might look like. I'm Trevor Lane. This is the Basketball Bulletin. Make sure you hit that subscribe button right down there. All right, let's take a look. First of all, this is Kendrick Perkins talking about the Boston Celtics, former Celtic Kendrick Perkins, who definitely would not have made a difference in Game 7 of 2010, but Kendrick Perkins with what he has to say about the Celtics.
This series is over. I don't give a damn about what the Celtics roll wins and what their record look like. First of all, do you realize how rocking the Madison Square Garden is going to be in Game 3? The energy in itself is going to have the Knicks players making shots. Do you realize that they have one of the best clutch guy in Jalen Brunson? Do you realize that role players actually play better at home? So I'm expecting Mitchell Robinson, Deuce McBride, even Mikal Bridges to play better at home. Although Mikal Bridges and those guys been playing better on the road. Look, right now, they have the mental edge over the Boston Celtics. I don't give a damn what nobody say. The Celtics are done. They're not coming back in this series. I have all the trust and faith in the New York Knicks. They're going to win this series. The Celtics will be lucky to get one game.
Okay. This is obviously this is a hot take from Kendrick Perkins, right? He's being hyperbolic. They're going to win. They'll be lucky to win one game. Well, no, he's full of shit. And the reason why is simply because of what the Boston Celtics are. I don't think this series is over by any stretch. However, it will be over if the Celtics continue to do what they're doing right now in the series, and that is shoot very poorly from three. They're averaging 25% from deep in the series. So Kendrick Perkins, when he says, oh, this series is over, no, if the three-point shooting regresses, if you get positive regression, then they're going to be just fine. You look at the course of the season, and a lot of people will criticize Boston for this. And look, I'm not one to defend the Boston Celtics, let me tell you that. But a lot of people will criticize them for this. What is the first time that we've seen a team take more than half of their shots from three? That's what they did this season. 48 three-point attempts over the course of the season. But look, they shot 37%. They're shooting 25% from three in the series. If you take a lot of threes and you are not hitting at a high enough percentage, it's going to end up being a bad strategy for you. Now, again, that's during the regular season. We look at the playoffs, and they have actually trimmed that down a little bit. Now they're taking 36.6 attempts from three. So they recognize the shots aren't going in, only shooting 33%. I'm rounding up to get there. In the playoffs, the Boston Celtics are. This is a team that's very reliant, even with the diminished volume. Some of that can come from just pace dropping in the playoffs. Even with the diminished volume, though, this is a team that's very reliant on their ability to shoot from behind the arc, and they're simply not knocking down those shots. So are the Celtics done? Are they cooked? Is it finished? Is it over? I want to say yes. I would love to say yes. It would warm my Laker heart to say yes. But the problem is that if they do get regression from behind the arc, then no, they're not dead. They start knocking in some of those shots, and they're in good shape. Now, the mental edge, does that exist? Yeah, look, the Knicks have caught them. The Knicks have chased them down both games in this series. The Knicks have chased them down. They've won the fourth quarter. They won in overtime in game one. The fourth quarter, 30-17. The Celtics had a lead. They couldn't hold it. They couldn't maintain it. And the Knicks ultimately walk away with the win. That's the way that we've seen both games in the series and both games in Boston shockingly play out. And you give a lot of credit to Jalen Brunson for hitting big shots. It wasn't particularly efficient last game, but you look at Karl Anthony Towns, 17 rebounds as well. And the Celtics have done a nice job on the offensive glass. So is this series over? No. But also Perk is not wrong when he says role players play better at home. Right? When he says the Garden is going to be rocking. Hey, especially if you're paying those ticket prices to get into that building, you better, if you're a Knicks fan, you better be rocking in there trying to get your team going. If the Knicks win game 3, all right, then we're really talking here about this being over. But it's not just that. It's not. It's not just, oh my gosh, the defending champs will be bounced in round 2. That's a big enough deal, no question. but it's also this Celtics team. They might be getting blown up either way. They might be getting blown up either way. They damn sure are getting blown up if this roster, if they get bounced in the second round. Here's why. Brian Windhorst, I thought, did a really nice job explaining a very difficult situation for the Celtics. Check this out.
What's on the line is what's going to happen to this team after this year. Now, this is a conversation I did not think I was going to be having on May 7th or whatever today is, May 8th. I don't even know what it is. I thought this was going to be a conversation for July. But next year, their payroll is $460 million when you compute the taxes. If they keep their draft pick, but they got a first-round pick this year, and they fill out their roster, I don't even know if they're going to be able to bring Al Horford back. It's going to top $500 million. They got new owners. They're buying it for $6 billion. They need to take on all these partners just to put half the money together. I don't know what's going to happen there, but there's a possibility this team's not going to come back. No matter what, they may not be able to come back.
Think about that. When you add a tax, they're paying as much in taxes, if not more, than what their roster payroll costs. $500 million for the Celtics. For reference, the salary cap is at $154 million. This Celtics team, if they keep it together, $500 million. Oh my God.
Because they're the most expensive sports team in the history of the game. That's what's on the line. This team has proven it can be it's a championship team. This team has proven it's a 60-win team this year. This team might win the championship again this year. But if they don't get out of this series, I don't know how you can justify spending $500 million on the roster again. I'll tell you that. And so to me, what's on the line is whether these guys want to stay together and try to rack up a bunch more rings.
And look, the math that he's talking about there, that problem exists whether they win the title or not. If they could win the next 4 straight, and they could win the title, and that problem still exists. You're still paying $500 million to keep this team together. So that's going to be a challenge for the Celtics regardless. But the one thing that makes it sure, if you win a title, right, ownership then feels that pressure to say, well, how can we break up a championship team? We can't do that. Then the fans are going to be pissed at us if we break up a championship team. There's no way that we could do that, right? Then maybe they say, look, we'll find a way. We'll spend the money. But if the team gets bounced in round 2, or realistically, if the team doesn't win a championship, that's where they're going to say, yeah, we can't justify this. Now we've got our reason for letting some of these guys go. See, the pressure's on ownership. If they win a title, you keep title teams together. If they don't, that's when suddenly it becomes, you look around the locker room, and these guys got to say, hey, we can't stay together. This isn't going to work. You've got too much money in all these players. Drew Holiday, he could very well be on the way out. 34 years old, $34 million season after next. Really $35 million. We round up $32.4 million next season. A player option in 27-28 for $37.2 million. He's already 34 years old. That may not be looking very good, especially for a player who derives most of his value from the defensive side of the ball. And Drew Holiday is great. He's phenomenal. He's won championships. He's a wonderful player. But at some point, when the age cliff hits you, what gets hurt the most, especially for a guard, is your defense, your ability to stay in front of a guy. So Drew Holiday, do they need to find a way to jettison him? What's his trade market even? How many teams are interested in him? What about Kristaps Porzingis, $30.7 million? Is that a luxury you can have? That you've got $30 million committed to Kristaps Porzingis. We start adding in the taxes on these salaries, then it gets crazy. Derek White, I'd imagine he's not going anywhere, but $28 million. Al Horford, can you bring him back? He's been a key figure for these Celtics teams. Can you actually bring him at $9.5 million this season? But what about next season? He's 38 years old. He's a free agent. You're probably talking about Al Horford retiring, or at the very least, not being a Boston Celtic because of how much it costs with the taxes to keep him. So there's a really good chance that even Al Horford aside, if this team gets bounced in round 2, multiple Celtics players are being moved this summer, are being traded in order to free up flexibility, in order to get themselves in a position where they're not paying so much for the tax. You look at right now, the payroll for this team, they are $20 million over, projected to be over the second apron. So at the very least, you're talking, you got to get Drew Holiday off this team. At the very least, just to get under the second apron. Not even to give yourself significant flexibility, just to get under the second apron. And how are you going to find a team to take that? Remember, one team has significant cap space, and that is the Brooklyn Nets. And that's it. So are you going to be able to find a move that sheds enough salary to get under the second apron? That would help. And let's not forget, when you start getting multiple years in the second apron, now we're talking about picks 7 years from now getting encumbered. Picks 7 years from now being bumped to the back of the first round, no matter where you finish. So picks 7 years from now, you can't trade them. There are repercussions built into the CBA. And big picture, everybody, let me say this. This is exactly what the NBA wants. What's happening to the Celtics right now, the financial situation they're in, this is exactly what the new CBA is designed to do. What they want is they want teams to get good. And when teams get good, what happens? Players get paid. And as those players get paid, salary costs go up, right? You look, Derek White comes to Celtic. Next thing you know, look at that, gets a big new deal. All right, great. Al Horford plays well. Another contract. Peyton Pritchard, he's under contract. These guys are playing well. But at some point, the punishments set up in the CBA with the salary cap system are going to be so strong that they're going to make teams like the Celtics have to make very, very, very difficult decisions. And that's exactly what's happening here. Why? Because the NBA does not want any one team just spending and spending and spending and staying at the top because they can just keep spending. Why? Because Steve Ballmer exists. Because he has infinity money, which is not the same as the rest of the team. Now, again, not that any of these team owners can cry poor, but when you've got a couple of owners in this league that have a limitless supply of money, in theory, they could get a roster together like this and say, I'm just going to spend and spend and spend and keep it together. The NBA doesn't want that because they don't want anymore any one team sitting at the top. They don't want that. They want a team gets to the top, they win for a bit, then they've got some tough decisions to make. They've jettisoned some talent. Some guys have to leave in order to get paid elsewhere. We saw it happen with the Denver Nuggets with Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. We saw it happen with the Golden State Warriors with Klay Thompson. The Clippers did it with Paul George. Some guys have to leave, right? Talent gets redistributed. Those teams drop down a little bit. Other teams start coming up, and you have the life cycle of an NBA team. What the NBA wants is no team at the top and no team at the bottom for too long. They want franchises and fan bases to feel like there is a trajectory, that they have a chance, that they are building towards something, or they've achieved something, or now they're turning it all around again and they're going to build back up. That's what the NBA wants. They do not want 17 straight years of the Sacramento Kings missing the postseason and that fan base getting disengaged, or any fan base in general. They want teams to be in this constant cycle without stagnation. That's the new NBA. That's what parity looks like. And that is the new CBA coming into play here. And the Boston Celtics are feeling the sting of it. So if the Celtics get bounced in round 2, bye-bye Boston. That's it. This team probably going to look very, very different next season. The only way that they actually stay together is if they win the whole thing this year, and right now they're down 0-2 to the Knicks, but they win the whole thing this year, all right, then maybe the pressure's on ownership to keep the bulk of the team together. Otherwise, see you later. This team is going to look significantly different and will be significantly cheaper next season, thanks to the new CBA. Everybody give me your thoughts in the comments down below. What should the Celtics do? And if they decide they need to jettison some players, who is it that should be on the chopping block? Plus, is the series with the Knicks actually over? Or do you agree with me that the Celtics are not done yet? Give me your thoughts in the comments section. Till next time, subscribe to the channel. See ya and stay safe.